Westplex 107.1, it is BS in the morning, and Shelley is here to say...
Calm down. Calm down.
I love it when she says that.
So is that thing that you sent me, was that to remind me of Kid Spa?
Yeah, here's the one.
They can't hear me because they're listening to Kids Bop.
I got this email yesterday about, hey, now you can buy tickets. Where is it at? Where's it at? Fox?
At the Ameristar.
Ameristar. Okay, you can buy... not Ameristar.
Hollywood.
No.
The amphitheater.
Kids Bop? Are you sure that's... I thought it was like at whatever they call it now, Peabody or Kiel Opera House or something. No?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No.
It's probably that's
Let me
what's
go
at.
look at that. What, are you with that one? When did I send that to you?
I don't know the answer to that question, and I am looking right now.
For those of you who have kids, you know exactly who Kids Bop is. For those of you who don't, it's, I guess, would you call it like sort of a group of, and I read this about it, that they can only be between like 11 and 13, and it's a bunch of boys and girls. You know, I guess they're like, I don't know. You don't want to call them young men and young women yet, maybe. But anyway, they sing and they dance and they have all these videos, and that's what supposedly all the kids watch. They watch Kids Bop videos.
Yeah, Stifle Theater.
Yeah, so that's at the let me think now. That used to be we have to go back. Like,
isn't that the Kiel?
Well, it used to be the Kiel Opera House. Then it was the Peabody Opera House. Now I guess it's the Stiefel. They call it Stiefel. You can't, which is weird because it's S-T-I-F-E-L.
Stiefel, it's all the same. Potato.
I mean, how do you get Stiefel out of S-T-I? It's like S-T in almost anything in English. If it's like, with an I in it, it's got the I sound, right? Or the E sound, not the E sound. But what do we know, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that, grammar Nazi.
No, but see, I'm always the one that points out the I-E-E-I thing, because in German, and that carries over into English to a certain extent, the I-E-E-I combination, the second vowel is always long. So if it's, and the way you look at this is, the way I always remember this is diesel, D-I-E-S-E-L. If it were D-E-I-S-E-L, it would be diesel, but it's diesel. You always pronounce the second vowel long, and you ignore the first vowel.
That's because it's always I before E except after C.
No, but that doesn't...
Except for in neighbor and way.
Well, but that doesn't necessarily carry over 100% in the English because there's exceptions. But in German, it's pretty much a hard, fast rule. In English, that's one of the things when people learn English, there's so many crazy, weird, exemptions in English. For example, a C could be either a K sound or an S sound.
That's true. I had to think about that one.
Right. And it goes both ways. Matter of fact, I knew a guy whose name was his last name was C-A-P-P-N. He was Italian, and
Cap'n?
He said his name was Sappin. And I go, but it starts with a C. No, Sappin. My name's Sappin. Not Cap'n, but Sappin. And I'm like, no, hold on a minute now. See, one of those things where if you think about, and like as you're naming kids, okay? And if you name, like, for example, one of my license bureau visits, the lady who waited on me, she had her little name tag on, and it was Cindy, spelled C-Y-N-D-I. Yeah, C-Y-N-D-I. Yep. And you have to go through your entire life. No, my name's not C-I-N-D-Y. It's C-Y-N-D-I.
I have to go through that. I've had to go through that my whole life.
Right, because you have another E in your name.
I do.
Yeah, you have two.
That's the real way to spell Shelley. I was named after my father.
Why is that? Why are there two different versions of Shelley?
There's more than two different versions. There's 4 or 5.
How can there be? What is it? Well, tell me the versions between. Let me try that again. Tell me the versions besides S-H-E-L-L-E-Y and S-H-E-L-L-Y. What are the other two versions?
S-H-E-L-L-I-E.
I never thought of that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And S-H-E-L-L...
You're having a stretch on this one.
I'm going to have to stretch on this one, yeah.
So there's only 3 that you can think of. Shit, I knew who would do that.
Who would do anything? I mean, have you heard the names that people are calling their children nowadays?
Well,
that's actually...
Well,
mild compared to what kids are called around this time of year.
I like unusual names because I think that helps you identify yourself through life. I mean, like I have told the story before about my daughter. I had an argument with my wife about the fact that we should I want to name her Gabrielle. No, Amanda. And there's gazillion Amandas. What's really interesting is if you look back at various generations, names pop out at you that don't exist anymore.
They do. Yeah.
Like for example, Michael, like in my generation, was super common. Michael and David and Thomas, and you just don't see those names anymore. Now it's all Caleb and not even Caleb. There's other names. I mean, Caleb was popular.
We love
for a
you,
while.
Caleb. Just so you know.
No, but I mean, you know what I mean. It was there was a span of where those names were popular, and then there was Bree. Bree was hot for a while. Everybody was named Bree.
And Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor. I mean, and even to the point where you look at some TV shows, people name their kids after TV shows. I mean, characters in TV shows. So TV shows that are popular, that kind of a thing.
I was going to name my daughter Candace.
I know. Then she'd be Candy Bar. We know that.
I know. Wasn't that cute? She's like, "Oh, mother, please don't ever tell me that again."
well, or the one guy I know who hates my guts, who has one name.
Okay.
Yeah, he changed his name and he has one name. He's sort of like Prince.
Like Prince?
Yeah, sort of like Prince.
Oh, okay.
But once again, why would you do that? Because you go through life, if you fill out a form, okay, put your first, middle, and last name. I go, I only have one name. What do you mean you only have one name? I only have one name. You mean you don't have a first and middle? Well, I don't have one name. I don't think it's first, middle, or last. I just have one name.
Not even a last name?
Well, I mean, what is it? If you only have one name, is it your first, your last, your middle name? You know what I mean? And then you have some people that have like 5 names. I mean, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I do.
One of those things. Anyway, it's BS in the morning. Have you heard the weather forecast? Have you heard this bizarre weather forecast?
I have not. I have not been listening to Jennifer.
Well, she'll come up in a couple of minutes and she'll tell us about the flash flood watch that's in effect.
I heard that. I did hear that there's a flash flood warning from this morning till tomorrow morning.
Not a watch, not a warning, a watch at this point because they're predicting.
Oh, it was a warning when I heard it.
No, I don't think so. And everything I've seen is a watch. They're predicting.
Are you telling me I'm wrong?
Yes, I am. Matter of fact, in this case, I am.
Well, Jennifer's got my back. We'll see.
Well, it's supposed to start raining. I'm looking at where's the forecast there. It's supposed to start raining. Here we go, St. Louis. It's 50 degrees right now. Can you believe that? It's supposed to be 56 later today. Tomorrow, 62. And then tomorrow it's supposed to rain, and it's supposed to start raining tomorrow morning, rain through Saturday. And they're saying that once the rain starts, between the time it starts tomorrow and the time it ends on Saturday, we could have as much as 4 inches of rain.
What happened to the snow?
It's not in here anymore because it's going to be too warm. Matter of fact, on Saturday, tomorrow, the temperature is going to be 62 for the high, a low of 40 into Saturday morning, and then Saturday, the high is going to be 43. So the snow's gone. They took that out. Too warm.
Huh.
And then it's supposed to warm back up on Sunday with a high of 43, Monday 49, Tuesday 55, and Wednesday 54. But the crazy thing is now they're saying snow on Wednesday, but it's supposed to be 54. So Wednesday is going to be one of those days where it starts out warm and then the bottom drops out and it's going to be like 21. So we're going to go from 54 of a high on Wednesday to 21 in 12 hours. So that should be interesting. So
that should be very interesting.
It is BS in the morning. We are B and S, and that's who we are. And we are going to take a break. We will be right back. To some people that go, no, don't come back. Just stay away, right?
No, they're not saying that. They're saying, don't go.
Yeah, right. 6:15. Westplex 107.1. It is Havana. Do you like that song, Shelley?
I do like that song. It's lovely. What?
It's the way you said that. It's lovely.
It is.
It's lovely. It's just plain lovely. No?
Stop it. That's my word. Stop it.
Yeah. How come your level got real low? What are you doing?
I'm not talking into my Nord. I don't know. What button did you push?
I don't know. I didn't push anything. All of a sudden your level got real low. Are you not talking directly in the microphone?
I'm talking directly into the microphone without eating it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave that as it is. BS in the morning. She is BIMS at 6:23. Roller coaster weather forecast. A flash flood watch in effect through tomorrow into Saturday, because they're saying that once the rain starts tomorrow, we could have 2 to 4 inches of rain. And it's really, when you think about it, it's been dry over the last, well, geez, I mean, I don't remember, has it rained at all or hardly much at all since the beginning of the year? I know we've had a couple sprinkles here and there, but I don't really remember any super heavy rains. Do you?
Not this year.
No, not so far. Lots of stuff in the news. Yesterday, big press conference with President Trump. Do you ever watch those?
I do not.
Okay.
But you knew that, right?
What's that?
That I don't watch press conferences.
Well, you're the one that brags to everybody that if it's not on Facebook, you don't know about it, right?
Correct, yes.
Which is extremely disheartening to some people who go like, okay, she's really reading, some stuff that's just absolute positive lies.
Okay, so they're judging me because I read Facebook?
No, because that's your only source. People should have multiple sources. You should never, once again, journalism 101, you should never, you always need, when you're writing a story, you always want to have at least a minimum of 2 sources that agree, because of the fact that, anybody can, like, for example.
I have multiple epiphanies. Doesn't that count?
No, it doesn't count. The other day, you said to me, remember when you got the email from that person who wanted to have a guest on, and I explained to you what she was doing, and you went, what? Right?
Yes.
And that's, once again, that's how people, it's all the time. I mean, the media, it goes back to, God, here I go again. It goes back to my days of being police dispatcher, when I tell people this all the time. And I don't know how many people have told me, well, I live in Wildwood and there's no crime there. No, there's crime there. It's just the more affluent.
The way they classify it.
Well, the more affluent neighborhoods, the police departments, and not necessarily the police departments, but the other people within the municipalities have a way of, shall we say, not letting certain things out. And, it's getting harder and harder and harder because of the fact that people show up, if something happens, people show up with their cell phone and take a video, or they text out, or they, whatever they tweet out or whatever, hey, look, boy, you're not going to believe what just happened. There was a robbery at blah, 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 blah. But once again, my analysis is always, okay, if you're a robber and you're going to break into people's houses to steal stuff, are you going to go steal stuff from the poor neighborhoods or the rich neighborhoods? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you don't know what's in anybody's house.
Well, trust me. It's to the point where I guarantee you there's a lot more valuable stuff of the houses in Frontenac and Town and Country and Ladue and Chesterfield than there is in Pagedale. And I'm not making fun of places, but Pagedale, East St. Louis, and Washington Park. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things. I mean, it's like anything. We talked about how things have changed with, theft of cars. They carjack them now because the cars have gotten so good as far as anti-theft is concerned. It's some cars are really tough to steal anymore. So what do? You just wait till somebody gets in the car. They got their keys in the ignition. You pull them out of the car. Hey, my car now. See you, bye.
Yeah, but my car, you don't put the keys in the ignition, my precious.
But what I'm saying is, but don't you keep your key fob in your car?
No. I keep my key fob where I normally keep my key fob.
Which is where? No. But most people.
My key fob is always with me, put it that way.
Most people.
And if I have my car running and I step out and go to QT and somebody steals my car, it'll drive without the key fob. But once they turn it off, they're done.
I know, but a lot of people, maybe this is anecdotal for me. I know people that talk about the fact that they have the push button start in their car, and they leave the key fob in their car because of the fact that they have the combination lock on the door. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
They don't.
You can't lock the door with the key fob in your car.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay, well, I know some cars you can.
You can't with my Precious, no.
Well,
It opens up. Matter of fact, when you sit there and you put down the what's the word?
hammer.
Put down the lock mechanism.
Yeah.
It will not lock the car. It'll actually unlock the car.
Well, I know you like your push button start. I've had cars, I've rented ones and I test drove some ones. Matter of fact, Ford used to let me drive all sorts of different cars. And when I got to the Lincoln line with the push button starts, I hated it. I don't know. It was like, okay, I don't get it. To me, it's like, you get so used to key and ignition, turn switch, when you turn it off, turn key off, pull keys, to me, it's like, it's, that's the way it should be.
To me, it's just one more thing to keep track of. So I just put it in my girls.
Okay, 629. Westplex 107.1, Charlie Puth, how long? 637. It is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning. It's BS in the morning. She's B, I'm S. You were saying, I just checked again, and I'm not trying to contradict you, but it's a flash flood watch at this point. It's not yet a warning.
Well, thank you for that, Brad, because I was a little worried and concerned that I was wrong.
You wrong? Never wrong.
Just keep on remembering that, okay?
You know what Saturday night is at the Dome?
No.
It's Supercross, the motorcycle, the dirt bike race.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but it's weird because this year it's so early. Normally we don't get the Supercross till the season starts in January, and normally we don't get any of the big races or any of the race. It's the Supercross race, and there's a championship goes through the United States, and they do Detroit and Los Angeles and places like that. And normally we don't get it till usually March or April. We're usually like one of the last ones. I think one of the first ones this year. Man, I used to take my son to that all the time. My oldest son enjoyed it. And that was the time, I've told you about this before, John Ashcroft, who was our governor and at one point our senator, and during the 9/11 crisis was the attorney general. And a very, 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 very conservative guy. One time, I took my son down to the Supercross, and we had nosebleed seats, and we were just getting there. We were getting there not late, but the show started at let's say 7 o'clock, or the race started 7. They'd had little, pre-race thing, and hey, want to welcome so-and-so, and we want to welcome John Ashcroft, who's, and I think at that time he was I'm trying to think if he was the attorney general or if he was the senator. I can't remember which one he was at the time. So, and if he's like super conservative, like Mr. Straight-Laced. And the MC said, and John's a huge motorcycle fan. I'm looking at my son, I'm going okay, I find that hard to believe. And I said, and he's going to get on one of our bikes and he's going to show us how it's done. So we're way up in the nosebleed. You don't know if it's like that person or not. And this guy gets on the motorcycle, fires it up, pulls twists the throttle open, puts this thing on the rear wheel, does a wheelie from one end of the dome to the other end, puts the front wheel down, comes back around, and then makes a sliding turn back into where he started. And I look at my son and go, that wasn't John Ashcroft, that's BS, right? Guess what? It was John Ashcroft.
Why, did he take his helmet off and wave?
Because here's the other bizarre part of the story is I told a couple people this, and they're going yeah, I agree with you. That can't be John Ashcroft. He's like Mr. Super Conservative. So a year later, when I'm trying to think all the years, he was running for re-election, and my son and I went down to a Rams game. And out in front of at that time, the TWA Dome, was John Ashcroft shaking hands. Hey, I'm John Ashcroft, vote for me, that kind of a deal. So I said to him, let's go up and talk to him and see if that really was him on the motorcycle last year. So we go up, and there's a little bit of a line, people, and he's greeting people. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by, that kind of stuff. So I go up and I shake his hand, and I had my son shake his hand. And I said to him, we were at the motocross last year, and some guy pretending to be you, did a wheelie all the way across the floor of the dome, and then, came back to where he started and did a sliding turn back into where he started. And he goes, yep, that was me. And we're going, for real? And he goes, yeah. He says, I grew up on a farm and someplace in Missouri, can't remember where exactly at. And he talked about they had, way back when, they had dirt bikes. Like, I think he rode Hondas, and they would take the tractors and they would make jumps. They would take the tractors and push dirt and make jumps. And they did like motocross.
That's because they didn't have video games
I guess
to do that for them.
Yeah, nowadays nobody would do that. They'd be inside, playing motocross on their
Wii.
iPads or whatever it was. But
or
I don't think
Xbox.
I don't know. Do people play Wii anymore? Isn't that sort of gone? Didn't that sort of come and go?
No, it's still around.
I never hear anybody talk about that anymore. For a while, it was like,
that's because it's all D&D and
I'm going to do Wii bowling, and I'm going to do Wii baseball,
Minecraft, and blah 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 blah.
I just don't get that. And you know what? It's not that I don't get the video games. I'm just not a game player. I mean, if I'm someplace and somebody goes, hey, let's play a board game, it's time for me to leave. I'm like, nope, not interested. Same thing with card games.
You don't even play Cards Against Humanity?
I don't play any kind of. I have no interest in card games or any of that kind of stuff.
Do you even know what Cards Against Humanity is?
Yeah. That's where you give me all your credit cards, and I go out and I charge them all up until your humanity's tested. Okay,
yeah. Think about that, and that's a hard no. That's not what Cards Against Humanity is. It's not a game it's not a family-oriented game, put it that way.
Is it like strip poker?
No, it's not like strip poker. But they have some pretty intense little sayings.
Is it a card game?
It is a card game.
Well, once again, I don't know about it because I don't play card games. Just have no interest in that.
I'll send you the Wikipedia.
And I've had people try to teach me poker. And they might as well be teaching me try to, read a book in Chinese or something like that. It's this point. It's like, okay, I don't get it. I don't understand. They talk about the river and this and that, and okay, whatever.
Are you a reader?
What do you mean, am I a reader?
Do you read a lot?
Yeah, but I don't. Like I said, I don't. To me, to me. I go to the casinos. I don't go nearly as much as I used to, but I go to the casinos primarily for people watching. And when I go to Las Vegas, I rarely go into the casinos. Typically, I'll go, and if I'm in Las Vegas, I'll say, okay, I got $20. I'm going to buy, I'm going to put in a slot machine and see what the hell happens. And when $20 is gone, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. But sometimes I'll go and I won't even do that. I just like the city. I like the architecture. I like the energy to the city and the whole bit. Although, it's getting tougher again. They started charging all the parking garages. They're started charging now.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It used to be you could go from casino to casino, and you just pull in the parking garage. Almost all the casinos now in the Strip charge for parking, unless you're staying at that particular casino, like as the hotel.
Well, we do that.
Yeah, but you can't go to another casino. In other words, if you're staying at that casino and you decide you're going to drive down a strip, you got a rental car, and you drive down the strip and you try to park another casino, they charge you. It's not
Uber.
free. Well,
when we were there, all we did was Uber.
Yeah, but
and
you know
Lisa.
what? Trust me. What's frustrating to me is that it's so restrictive in Las Vegas as far as Uber, because there's only certain places that you can, drop off and pick up. And
That's not true.
Oh, no. Hey, trust me. I found out the hard way because of the fact that I've been in like downtown St. Louis and been in the middle of a block and go, I don't want to walk anymore. And I'll just grab my phone and, the guy will pick me up right where I'm at. I'm my first time in Las Vegas trying to use Uber. I'm at the fountains there, the Bellagio fountains.
Yep.
I'm in the middle of the block. I get my phone. I go like, okay, I'm going to get an Uber. And I, book. And I'm in the middle of the block. And then the guy calls me. And he goes, where are you? The Uber guy. I go, well, I'm right here on the strip in front of the fountains. Oh, we can't pick up there. There's only certain spots we can pick up and drop off. You have to go to the visitor's center in Bellagio. And I talked to a couple of the Uber drivers, and they said they got really strict about that in Las Vegas. And matter of fact, one of the Uber drivers dropped me off at a non-Uber drop-off, and this guy from the resort comes out and it was a woman driver, and just reams her. Yells at her, screams at her, called her a couple bad names, took her license plate. I'm going to report you.
Really?
Yeah, because they've got it to the point where there's only certain spots, and what's interesting is that they segregate it where I can't remember. I think it might be the Mandalay Bay where there's one spot for the taxis and there's a totally different spot for Uber. And if
There is.
And if you
That's where Lisa and I stayed.
yeah, but what I'm saying is you can't just say drop me off in the middle of the block or whatever. Hey, drop me off at the fountains. Nope, they won't do that. They say no, I have to drop you off at the official Uber spot. And to the point where to me it's like, okay, then why am I Ubering? If I want to go,
You're Ubering because if you want to go to the stratosphere, although you can take that it's not a trolley. What is it, like a tram?
Oh, it's just like the Del Mar Loop trolley.
It is not. Shut up.
It never runs. It
That's
breaks
not true.
down.
It runs, but you have to get back to the Mandalay Bay. You've got to go to one. You have to stop, and then get off, and then go to another part of the casino, and then get that trolley to go back to Mandalay Bay.
I know it's complicated because they want you to walk through the casino.
It is.
Hey, we're way behind. We got to take a break. It's 6:47.
It's your fault.
Westplex 107.1, one of my favorite songs. Shelley hates it every time I play that song.
That is not true.
She says,
I just
"I
told
hate
you.
it."
I love that song. It just reminds me of a simpler time.
That Shawn Mendes, Camille Cabello song, I don't like it. Please don't play it anymore.
That's not what I say. You are completely ridiculous right now.
It is going to be an interesting day today. Temperature's going to be halfway decent.
Oh, sorry, the weather.
Well, what were you talking about?
Us.
Us? What are we doing
It's
today?
going to be an interesting show.
Us
A really
today?
big shoe.
Really big shoe. Supposed to be, today? 50 degrees. No, it's 56 for the high. It's 50 degrees right now. It's nice right now. Although it's going to be, I don't think we're going to see any sun today. No, not supposed to be any sun today. It's supposed to be cloudy all day long, which is sort of, you get spoiled with the sun from yesterday. It was nice yesterday. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens as far as
So it's going to be 50 with no sun?
56. It's 50 right now. Yeah, 56, no sun at all. Cloudy all day long. Matter of fact, we're not supposed to see the sun until sometime on Sunday afternoon, Monday morning. So today, Friday, and Saturday, all overcast. Matter of fact, the rain's supposed to start tomorrow sometime in the morning and continue through all the way until sometime early Saturday morning. The flash flood watch that's in effect right now is in effect until 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. So, and
Emphasize the watch, Brad, because we don't want people to think it's a warning.
No, who said it was a warning earlier? It was you, not me. You're the one that said, oh, it's a warning. No, it's not a warning. It's a watch. And that means conditions are favorable, and they're saying that we could get between tomorrow morning and sometime on Saturday around noon, 2 to 4 inches of rain. Probably the most of it, they're saying, would be tomorrow afternoon during afternoon drive into tomorrow evening. So just have to wait and see about that. I have to tell you, I think the economy has gotten much better in January because I can remember a time when you could go to a restaurant in January on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and there was practically nobody in the place. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
I went to eat Tuesday evening about 5:30 or so, and I won't say the restaurant because they will never do any advertising with us, but it was packed. And I'm going and when
it was happy hour, Brad.
No. This was not happy hour because I got there about 6 and I stayed till about 7 and the happy hour ends there at 7. And when I left, first off, when I got there at 6, I had a tough time to find a table and I ended up sitting at the bar eating my dinner. And then as I left at 7 o'clock, there was a huge waiting line. So once again, happy hour was over. People were waiting in line to get dinner. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is like the first week of January. I know it's not technically the first week of January because the first week of January was last month or last week, but the first week when people aren't still on vacation or not going to school or that kind of stuff. And I'm going man, and people are, I've noticed that again last night. I'm thinking, okay, there was a time I remember for years that you could go to a restaurant in January and nobody was there. Matter of fact, that's why I think it's coming up next week or the week after. Clayton does that thing, they do the deal. You know what I'm talking about? What they call it, the Clayton Restaurant Expo. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Okay, they have a deal. They have a week where you have all these restaurants, and there are quite a few of them that participate, and they have either a $25 meal or a $35 meal, but it's like all inclusive. You get like all sorts of stuff. It's like super, you know what I'm saying?
So it's basically like the taste of Clayton.
Well, I don't know if they call it that or not, but it's always.
Well, I'm sure they don't. But it's basically.
It's always in January because of the fact that they always do it in January to try to get business into the restaurants. But I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe they don't need to do it anymore because, according to what I saw this week, there's tons of people going to restaurants.
Well, maybe you just went on there on a busy day. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's hard to believe that a restaurant on Tuesday night's doing that much business. But what are you going to do? Hey, we got to take a break.
Maybe it was a good restaurant.
Not if I was there. 6:58. Westplex 107.1. Sean Hooks, Morning Tea 7:07. It's BS in the Morning. She is Brad. I am Shelley. Our website is bsinthemorning.show. 50 degrees right now, headed high for a 56. Going to be mostly dry today. Tomorrow, different story. We'll just have to wait and see. But we are right now under a flash flood watch, which extends through tomorrow and into Saturday morning. So be prepared for that. Okay, Shelley, I told you about, I heard this on KWMU last week. And I have a real problem with this. And I contacted the guy, and he responded yesterday. What I'm talking about is there was a special report. Well, it's not a special report, but they do this thing on noon in KWMU, Missouri, St. Louis Public Radio is what they call it. It's the NPR station. And it has to do with what they call civil asset forfeiture. And essentially, what happens is the police pull over a car. There's money in the trunk, $20,000, $30,000. They just say, hey, we're taking the money. It's our money. And they say that if you don't let them, the police say if you don't let them have the money, that they're going to arrest you. Okay, so the guy that was, he's a professor, a journalism professor at SIU Carbondale. His name is Bill Freivogel. He's the one I contacted. I heard him, and he's doing, this is part of their journalism school down in Carbondale, where they're doing all this investigative reporting. And this centers on St. Charles County, specifically mile marker 204. You know where mile marker 204 of Interstate 70 is? It's right down the street from you. It's Forestel. It's mile marker 204.
Oh, really? So
yes.
They're focusing on Forestel?
Well, they sit in the median, and you've probably seen it. They have the unmarked black SUV police cars, and they sit in the median, and they profile people. And in 2019... They did of all the stops they did, they took $2.6 million in cash from 36 different vehicles.
In Forestel.
Right there in 70, Forestel. And almost all of them were westbound cars. And they profile them. They said, he talked about they look for rental cars. They look for cars that have out-of-state license plates. And they have a particular profile they look for. They pull the cars over. I
guess white Lincolns with plates that say "Be Happy" is not. Doesn't fit in their profile.
Well, you're local, so they don't care about you. These are mostly people who are not local, and that's part of the issue. They're not people from this area.
Membership has its privileges.
Well, I guess they pull them over. They essentially say, "Can we search the car?" Most of the people consent. They find cash. In one case, they had $134,000 in cash. Okay. And they are essentially saying, and it's interesting, they take them to a tow lot somewhere. I'm going to figure out where this is. They tow the car right off the interstate, take it to a tow lot, and that's where the police say, okay, look, you give us the money and sign these forms, and we'll let you go. Because of the 36 people they pulled over and took $2.6 million worth of cash. And this is all in one spot, St. Charles County, right there, mile marker 204, Forestel. 36 people they took all this money away from. Nobody was charged with anything. Nobody.
So they just said and what is it, 2.6 mil?
Well, that's the total was 2.6 mil.
For 2019?
Well, 36 different people they did. So in other words, and you can divide it up. Probably there's some that, a lot, some that's like, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. But what they're saying is, and even the prosecutor, they had an interview with the prosecutor in St. Charles County, and he essentially said, hey, it's all drug money. And my point on that is like,
That's not necessarily accurate. Somebody could be kidnapped, and
no,
that's the ransom money.
No.
Somebody could be.
No, it's not. It's not. But what you're saying is essentially you're saying it's illegal
They're
money.
assuming it's drug money.
Yes, that's the whole point. And I told you the story. My one banker told me this story that when the stock market, and everything crashed in 2007, 2008, one of his customers showed up at the bank one day and said, I have $350,000 in this bank. I want it in cash now. And they said, we don't have $350,000 in the bank today. And he said, it better be here tomorrow because I'm coming and I want to pick up my money. And the next day he showed up and they gave him $350,000 in cash, loaded into his car, away he went. Okay, so there's a perfect example. He had the money in the bank. He didn't trust the banking system anymore because, that's when all banks were crashing and Lehman Brothers went under and things like that. He's taking his money out of the bank. He literally is going to cash, not figuratively. He's literally taking cash out of the bank. Okay,
Mattresses and cash. Yes, I got it.
So if he would have been driving, like let's say he said, I'm going to drive into St. Charles County and drive through for Forestal, and they would have pulled him over. Hey, dude, you got $350,000 cash in your car. Okay, so what kind of drugs you selling? I'm not selling any drugs. Well, how do you get that much cash? Hey, took it out of the bank. What do you mean you took it out of the bank? Who has that kind? Hey, I do. I got $350,000, but I decided that the stock market was going to crash. Well, nope, sorry. We want the money.
It's only insured up to 1,000, so you have to have like multiple.
100,000.
Yeah, that's what I meant. 100,000.
I
So
think
you have to have multiple accounts.
Yeah, right. I think
in different banks.
Right. That's what his concern was, and it's a valid concern. So
it is.
So anyway, the point being is that they interviewed the prosecutor, the St. Charles County prosecutor, and he essentially said, "Hey, it's all illegal money. We know it." And I'm going like, "How do you know that?"
Exactly.
And once again, to me, it's like the criminalization of cash. Did you ever watch this show? What's it called? It's got the guy. It's where the Gas Monkey Garage. What's called Loud and Fast or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
No, no,
I
don't.
It's these two guys that own this. One guy's got this great big old beard, and the other guy's this swashbuckling kind of guy. He was one of the guys that did. For a while, he had the Cannonball Run record. He went from New York to California in like 32 hours or something like that. And he buys cars all the time. And their whole thing is. They're like the car flippers. You got the house flippers. They're the car flippers. They buy all these cars, specifically ones that have some kind of collector's value to them. They take them back to their garage. They fix them up. Sometimes they put a new engine in. Sometimes they customize them. Sometimes they just clean them up and, put a new paint job on them, and they're flipping cars. But he goes all over the country and buys cars, and he always has cash on him because they always show him like, hey, well, I'll pay you $12,000 for this. No, I want 15. Well, how about 13? No, I don't want. I want 15. Okay, here's 14, and he peels off the $100 bills. Okay, so once again, there's a lot of, and to the point where there are a lot of businesses that, for example, I have a friend of mine that used to own parking lots. And, he talked about how people would pay, in cash.
It's a cash business. Dry cleaners are a cash business.
I saw a video recently of a guy who's telling you to invest in laundromats, and he said the only problem was, he showed the thing of like when he went around, emptying all the quarters, and some of them to the point where I know that one laundromat that I've gone to when I had some big blankets that I had to, wash and dry that I couldn't do in my regular washer, they have the deal where they have a dollar bill changer, but what it does is it gives you gold dollars because a lot of the big dryers and the big washers, instead of taking quarters, they take dollar coins. So either they're SBAs or they're the gold dollars. And at the end of the night, or in the morning, somebody goes around and pulls those all out of the wash machine. So they've got literally change. That kind of a thing. And I just thought it was interesting. And he essentially told me, he says, because I told him, I said, hey, you're an SIU professor. I'm an SIUE journalism grad. And he essentially said, hey, check into this. He says, we just scratched the surface. He says, you'll find this very fascinating because everybody's saying, the county people are essentially saying, hey, man, those people, and what's interesting is he said that more than half of the people they did this had Spanish surnames.
Okay, that's really profiling.
Well, yeah,
Shame on you.
no kidding. Since St. Charles County does not have a big population of Spanish people, you know what I mean,
No,
of
they do not.
Latinos or Mexicans or whatever, Spanish speaking. I mean, it has some, but not very many. So I just thought it was sort of fascinating. And once again, it's the thing for me. It's like called the criminalization of cash, where to the point where it's like if you got cash, are you a drug dealer? Or it's like, well, and there was a time. I mean, I have a friend of mine that she told me that way back when she worked at Kmart. I think it was it was Kmart.
The blue light special?
She worked at Kmart, and this was not all that long ago, like maybe, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 years ago. It wasn't like, 100 years ago. But she said that when they got paid, they got a pay envelope. And on the outside of the envelope, it was printed, their gross pay, their net pay, showed, how much went to FICA, FUI, SUI, all that kind of stuff. And inside the envelope, it was cash. That's how they get paid.
I've never gotten paid by cash,
Oh.
except for when I was a waitress.
Well, same with me. I was a curb boy. We got, and that was nice. I always had cash,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, working in a restaurant was always my second job. So I always had cash.
Yeah, but, when you made those tens of thousands of dollars in tips and you're driving west on 70 through Forestville, watch out. That's all I can tell you.
I know, right? Now I know. What mile marker is that, please?
204. You know where it's at. It's right there. It's right there at the. It's right there, just immediately east of the Forestville overpass.
Really?
Yeah, it's right there. When you go there today,
Okay.
take a look. They sit in the median. I see them there all the time. It's big unmarked SUVs, big black SUVs with with dark windows, the whole bit, and guys sit there all the time. I mean, you drive through there.
Did I tell you that I had one of those follow me?
Oh, I don't doubt it. Because it's a good thing you didn't pull over and get all the cash out of your trunk, because
I mean, it was kind of creeping me out because they started following me from Wentzville, downtown Wentzville.
Yeah, well, you're suspicious. I'd follow you too. Yeah, yeah, I would. Hey, it's 7:18.
You're funny.
We got to move on. No, I'm not. Bye. Westplex 107.1. Yes, one foot in front of the other. That's the way Shelley walks backwards, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly the way.
7:25. Did you? We talked about this the other day. The Golden Globes, which was Sunday, and Ricky Gervais, lambasting all the people.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see the picture of the dress that Gwyneth Paltrow had on?
I did not. Was it revealing?
Well, it was, shall we say, interesting. Matter of fact, if you want to search that and take a look at it, what's interesting is it's been compared to something that we use in our logo.
The poop emoji?
Yes, there are people saying that what she was wearing was the physical representation of the poop emoji, and there's a couple pictures online of her. It's this bizarre looking weird dress where the top sort of looks like a bikini top, and then there's like a bare midriff, but it's like a high bare midriff, and then she's got this weird dress that looks like the top of it goes maybe about 3 or 4 inches above her belly button, and it's this long, and it's all brown, and it looks exactly.
I see it. It's different.
It's the same color as the poop emoji.
It is. Well, brown. There's vast differences of brown, but
So there's
Gwyneth, really? How could you think that that's attractive?
There's all these
Poop emoji or no poop emoji, it's an ugly dress.
There's all these pictures of, and I saw, somebody sent me one, and I've seen a couple other ones of the dress and the poop emoji side by side, and it's like, okay, it sort of does look like a poop emoji because of the way the dress is sort of like, what would you call that? Like A-frame kind of dress or something like that, where it's like.
I have no idea. I'm not. I just like what I like. Not it.
Would you wear that in public, Shelley?
No.
Is that?
Well, first of all, I don't have the body for it. Number one, she does, but. Yeah, it's ugly, actually.
And
it's probably really, really expensive.
Oh,
have you ever noticed? Well, maybe not because you're a dude, but that the uglier the clothes are, the more expensive they are?
Well, I quite honestly, I've noticed that about shoes.
That's not true.
Oh yeah. Both men's and women's shoes, and maybe especially men's shoes.
That's not true.
Oh well, like for example, like remember the old the O.J. Simpson trial. Okay, he had on Bruno Magli shoes. Remember that was the whole deal that they had a specific print, and there was a print in blood of the Bruno Magli shoes, and he claimed he never owned Bruno Magli shoes, and yet there's a picture of him, as a sideline reporter at one of the football games wearing Bruno Magli shoes. I know a guy that I know that wears very expensive shoes, and I always look at those and think to myself, man, I wouldn't wear those on a bet.
There are some men's shoes that are really ugly, like the ones that kind of come to a point, and then the point kind of comes up like a little genie.
Well, see, I'm not Mr. Fashion to the point where I wear the same thing all the time, but I wear my boots, and my boots are always in style. So,
That's true.
They're either in
They
style or out of style, whichever way you look at me. Most people would say I'm out of style. But I like boots. I've always loved boots since I was a kid. I've told you this before, I don't have one pair of shoes, regular shoes, other than my one, pair of shoes I wear to the gym. That's it. I mean, I have a pair of,
You have a pair of tenny puffs.
Well, they're like, they call them cross trainers or something like that.
Okay. So you do have tennis shoes.
Well, I don't know if you'd call them tennis shoes there. I mean, nowadays you can't.
Generically, they're called tennis shoes, Brad. They will always be tennis shoes. I don't care what people call them now.
So those,
they will always be tennis shoes.
So those shoes that Michael Jordan, those Nike Air Jordans, all that stuff, those are tennis shoes to you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then they're tennis shoes. They're like, they're just like, they're not running shoes. They're just, what they call cross trainers. You can run in them, but it's not necessarily a running shoe. It's like
blah, blah, blah.
It's for like you to go to the gym and like do, when I do the, what do you call it?
Treadmill?
No. Where I do the, when I go and do the, the Zumba. You know what I'm saying?
You do Zumba?
Oh man, can't get enough of it. I mean, to the point where Zumba.
You just go there for Zumba for a target-rich environment. That's what you go there for.
It beats the single bars, right? you go to Zumba.
Yes, and the produce salad show.
Well, your doctor and my doctor in common. You know what he has urged me to do over the last several years? He keeps telling me, yes, he keeps telling me, you need to go to yoga.
Yeah, he was on me about that too.
You need to go to yoga class. I'm like, what do you mean I need to go to you need to go to yoga class? I go, seriously? Yes, you need to go to yoga class. Okay, whatever. I'm going like,
it'll be the bendiest day of your life.
Yeah, but I'm like an old dude, and I even looked into that, and almost every one of these classes, it's all these young women. I'm going like, okay, man, I don't want to be like the old guy who can barely, do this anymore. I'm getting these gals that twist themselves into a pretzel. I'm going like,
you would be like a puppy to them.
Oh, man.
They would sit there and just pounce all over you, Brad, and make sure that they could help you any way they could.
I don't think
You'd be
so.
like catnip to them.
I don't think that's the case.
I absolutely know that's the case.
Yeah, and then they'd go out the, coffee. How about that old dude in our class? Can you believe it? Boy, he looks terribly out of shape. How does anybody get around like that? He's in terrible shape. Do you see him? He walks with a limp. Oh, my God. Don't you feel sorry for him? Right? That's what they'd be saying.
And then they'd say, yes, but I'm going to sit there and help him do the downward dog or whatever they say.
No,
upward dog, downward dog, some kind of cat. I don't know.
One of these days, I'm going to go to a yoga class. One of these days.
Can I be there and like Facebook Live it?
No. And I'll have my cross trainers on, Anyway, we got
tennis shoes.
Whatever you call them. 7:32. Westplex 107.1. Beautiful people. We're not beautiful. So make up your mind. Westplex 107.1. 7:39. God, I heard something interesting yesterday from a doctor. And
okay.
Well, what's sort of interesting is, first off, I forgot to talk about this morning. I'll talk about it tomorrow.
What?
My Mike McGee, my guy who's on the air here, our financial advisor, Edward Jones, in our leads group yesterday, he always gives a fun fact. And yesterday he gave this bizarre fun fact, which we'll talk about tomorrow. I said I'd talk about it today, but we'll talk about it tomorrow because it's so weird. I mean, it was like to the point where after he said it, people are going like, huh? It was fun, but it was sort of bizarre fun. Okay. So yesterday, I heard a doctor who was on one of the radio shows, talking about how men, it came out, there's two things that came out. There was some kind of a drug that they were trying that essentially for men who are having problems, essentially conceiving children with their wives, okay? And they did this blind study where they had like 1,000 men that they gave the drug, they put them in the study, and they had 500 of them who got the drug and 500 of them who got the placebo. And then they did this for several years, and then they compared results. And the men who took the drug, when they did, the tests on them, the whole bit, were less fertile than the men who didn't take the drug. And the men who took the drug had side effects of nausea and vomiting and things like that. But these guys...
Like he was pregnant.
Yeah, which I thought, it's funny, that's exactly what I thought. I thought to myself, that's sort of weird. Here you're taking a fertility drug that's supposed to make you more fertile, and it made you less fertile, but it made you feel like you were pregnant. It's like, okay, that's sort of ironic. Okay, but...
That's called poetic justice right there, man.
Well, maybe that's what that is. But... the doctor started talking about how the fertility level of men is dropping through the decades. And this is what he said, which I'm telling you.
That's because people don't wear boxers anymore.
Oh, here we go with that. Okay,
It's true.
Okay, but what he said was fascinating, because he said with men, there's an emotional, mental component of that. And it has to do with the fact that men, genetically are predisposed to be aggressive and assertive. And, you go back to the caveman, it's they're the hunters and the women are the gatherers, and then the woman's back in the cave and the guy's out there, clubbing the tiger with a club and bringing it back to the cave so they can eat. And he said that predominantly in the workplace, that this has been a proven fact that men who are aspiring to higher positions in the workplace have a higher testosterone and higher sperm count. And because of the fact that that's not happening in the work environment anymore, and because there are so many women managers now, that men are becoming less fertile.
So you think that masculinity is being derailed by the way the world is going?
He sort of talked about that. And I sort of thought it was interesting because of the fact that, nowadays it's like, and even to the point where I heard this guy who, and matter of fact, this guy, and it's somebody, and I can't remember his name. He used to be, his name is A.J. Benza. And he's an investigative reporter. And I remember seeing him on a bunch of different shows that they would have him like as a guest on various shows. And he would be like as guest on news shows and things like that. And he was being interviewed and they were sort of talking about this in another respect, how things have changed in the media and the whole bit. And he said that the reason that he doesn't get invited to be a guest anymore is because he's sort of a tough guy. He sort of talks like that, and that's not cool anymore. And what they want, and this was his term, they are looking for more sexually fluid men.
I'm sorry, what?
Sexually fluid men.
I heard what you said, but what does that mean exactly?
It means that you're sort of a man, but you're sort of a woman. So in other words, you're sort of a girly man, I guess. I don't know. That's what he said. And they all laughed and they go, no, really? And he says, no, they're not looking for masculine guys anymore. They're looking for guys that you're not sure it's a guy or a gal. And I'm going, it's sort of interesting because when you
think that?
Well, think about the movies, okay? Think about the movies. There was a time you had John Wayne and you had Robert Mitchum, Clark Gable. These very strong men. And frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Stuff like that.
Yep. Archibald Leach.
Right. You had these guys who were very tough. You go through all the big the
James Cagney.
Right. Tough guys. Okay. Now you go to the movies or you watch TV, and what do you see? You see the situation comedies where the guys are the stupid ones, and the wives are the smart ones, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but the guys are sort of like, they're sort of like, sort of just floating through life. And
It's like Everybody Loves Raymond. I could never watch that show because if that man whined one more time.
well, but see him, King of Queens. Remember Kevin plays the UPS guy, but once again he's sort of the dummy, and his wife is the one who's really smart. And you look at all the shows like now. What's the one with the Vigaro, who I'm talking about? What's that? Family, or it's been on the air forever, where it's got the guy used to be the father in God, I can't remember. But you know what I'm talking about. It's and when you look at it, all the shows, they show the man being like the stupid guy. And if it wasn't for the fact that his wife was there, he wouldn't know to come out of the rain. He'd just, it's me, well, honey, I don't know why, but I'm getting all wet. Well, you're out there in the rain. Come on in. That kind of a thing. And it was really interesting because he talked about that the population, the birth rate in sophisticated in what they call first world countries is declining. Talked about how it's declining in Japan, it's declining in the United States, and the birth rate that is increasing is the birth rate in all these countries where the guys are like dominant. They're like the Islamics, where, the woman has to wear the burqa and the man's the swashbuckling guy, and he's the terrorist, and he's the guy that's going out and, and blowing up things. And yet their birth rate is really going up, but yet the birth rate of the quote unquote sophisticated countries is going down because the men are not as fertile anymore. And I'm going like, whoa, this is, I'm thinking to myself, get some women on the show with him and they'll tear him apart. I can't believe you said that, but it was just sort of interesting.
It's kind of like our music nowadays.
Well,
whiny.
See, what's interesting is, and it's sort of funny you should mention that, because think about it. I
mention it all the time, Brad.
Well, but think about it. Like, okay, you go back 20, 30 years, okay? Van Halen, you had all the groups, and like a lot of the groups, the popular music bordered on being hard rock. You had
Yes.
Journey, you had, quite a few. And to the point where
Austin.
now you have Ed Sheeran, Shawn Mendes, Charlie Puth, and
Wow.
Well, and not saying that they're not like manly men, but they're not. You know what I mean? They're sort of like
Their songs aren't.
Yeah,
It's like, he's so soft and sensitive. I know that he'll be for me.
They're sort of wimpy.
Gag.
So anyway, just think about that. And this was like I can't remember. He was some professor or something like that. It was pretty interesting. No, he's a doctor. He was a doctor. He's talking about this, and he's an MD, not like a doctor of English, like a PhD or something like that. And it was pretty interesting, talking about the whole thing. And you know what? I have to be honest with you, I couldn't agree with it more. I think it is true. But there's some people saying, well, there shouldn't be a divide between men and women. And I'm going, okay, whatever.
There's always going to be a divide between men and women.
It's like my complaint with your organization you belong to, Little Black Book. Men can't belong to that. I think that's not fair.
Well, they can't belong to it, but we do have wingmen.
I don't, but once again, that's not fair. I mean, if I want to be...
Of course it's fair.
I'm telling you, if I put together a group within the, like in St. Charles County, hey, it's the man's club.
The He-Man Woman Haters Club.
And we're going to go to that cigar bar there on Highway N in Cottle, and we're going to smoke cigars till our eyes roll back in our head. It's only men only. I mean, there'd be women. I can't believe you're doing that. I can smoke a cigar. Why can't I come in?
That's true. But still,
Right.
a lot. I mean, we actually, on one of our Coffee and Connections, this is true. And Coffee and Connections, you get the feels. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you talk personally.
Yeah.
And there was a gentleman that came in when we were over at Rendezvous. There was a gentleman that came in and sat through the whole entire meeting. And I'm like, I'm not going to say his name, but I'm like, could you not get the vibe that you were kind of out of...
Was he not invited? He just came in and sat down?
Yes.
Oh, well, my hat's off to him.
And participated.
My hat's off to him. He's trying to even up the odds,
He didn't even know.
Yeah?
He saw it on Facebook.
Well, maybe he was getting in touch with his more feminine side.
Yeah, I don't think so. I know this man. I don't think that's it.
Okay, 7:49. Westplex 107.1. That's the theme song of, let me try that again. The theme song of BS in the Morning. Can't we just talk? No, we can't, because Shelley will interrupt me and tell me I'm wrong and all sorts of stuff like that, right?
That is not true.
Yeah.
That is not how that goes.
She
So stop
jumps
it.
in on time. You don't know what you're talking about. Off the air. We have one show that's on the air. We have another show that's off the air. Shelley's
True, we do.
Shelley's all nice and warm and friendly with me on the air, and then we turn off the mics. I can't believe you said that. That was so stupid. I can't believe you do that kind of stuff.
I never do that, Brad. Stop it.
You do it all the time.
Well, only sometimes, because sometimes, I don't know, but not a lot.
You don't like the things I say. You get mad about things I say.
I don't. Well, sometimes I do. Oh, you know what we're doing? You know what we're going to do?
What?
So STL Magazine is having the A-list,
Yeah?
and I'm nominating us for the radio morning show.
That'll go real far.
I am.
Hold it now. If they had the B list, I'd say, yeah, we might have a chance. The C list, we'd have good odds in there. The D list, we'd be the winners. Hey, you know what? That's what we should do. We should have like the Westplex B list and put all these people on it that we don't like. Hey, we'll call them up and go, hey, guess what? It's just like, have I ever told you the story about the Silver Microphone Awards?
No.
I got another one just the other day, and I don't know if I told you about this or not. I got this email that said, hey, you have been selected as the best business in St. Peter's, or something like that. I go, okay, this is interesting. And, it's email, and I read the thing the whole bit. Our judges have judged your business, and it was interesting because it was the other station. It was KSLQ, but it wasn't in all capitals. It was like capital K, SLQ, and it's like, okay, first off, they don't realize it's a radio station. And it's like, you have met our high standards, and, we are happy to award you this plaque. And what's interesting was there was even a PDF attached to the email, and it was a press release. And it was pre-done, for immediate release. And it looked just like a regular press release that, we'd get like at the radio station that you're supposed to send out. Today it was announced that KSLQ won the St. Peter's Best of Award and stuff like that. Well, it turns out it's a trophy company.
I actually got something in the mail the other day just for that thing, that same thing.
And if you want the award, you can choose.
You have to buy the trophy.
Yes, you can choose between 3 or 4 different trophies, and one of them was $199, and one of them was $249, and stuff like that. Well, what was interesting was there used to be a competition in the radio business called the Silver Microphone Awards. And my brother used to send commercials he did all the time, and he always won, no matter what he sent. And it was like to register it. It was like to send your award, you had to send like $99 or something like that with each one. So he'd send off these commercials that he did, and he'd put a check in for $99, and like a month later, hey, your commercial was judged the best of the best. And the box would come, and here's your Silver Microphone Award. And it was this microphone, silver. It was like on a little pedestal, and had his name on it, engraved in a little plate. Lance Hildebrand, winner, whatever it was, that kind of a thing. Thinking to myself, we're blowing it, Shelley. We should just start our own trophy shop. We should go like we go to the chamber meetings today, and we'd go around. Hey, hi, guess what? You've won the Best of Westplex for the best, flooring company. Congratulations! And here's your award. Well, you have to submit $199 for the award, and then we go out and we buy a trophy for $50. And we make $150. What do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty much what they do.
I'm thinking to myself, what are we trying to do? Trying to, make a legitimate business? We'll just scam people with awards. What do you think? No?
No, we won't do that. That's not how we roll, Brad.
The best of St. Peter's. The
best of the Westplex.
Well, so did you get that email? Or
what email?
You talked about you got one like that. You said you got mail. Was it mail, or was it email?
It was email.
Okay.
Because I told you about it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
we got
okay,
this.
what is this? Because I forwarded it to you. And first of all, I don't even know how they got my email.
Well, Who knows? I mean, who knows how people get your email? You know,
I mean, seriously, there are some people I'm like, how did you even get my email?
You know, I've been doing. I showed you yesterday. God, we'll talk about this tomorrow. But I saw this on a YouTube video, and it was so funny. It's this lady who is works in L.A. and she's a voiceover artist, and she's really good. And she purposely has, you know, she gets all these scammers to call her, and then she scams them. And she does these different voices and things like that. But what I've started to do is, and it's really funny, I told you, I get these calls all day long. I mean, all day long, and I'll answer, and they just hang up, you know? And, you know, maybe, 20, 30 times a day. And it's gotten to the point where I'll answer the phone and I'll sound like, recording. And I'll, the phone will ring and I'll answer. I go, "Hi, thank you for calling. If you're a human being, please press 1. And sometimes somebody presses 1.
Oh, that's funny.
And then I'll go like, "Hi, thanks for calling. If you're over 5 feet tall, please press 2. And if they're still there, sometimes you'll hear, "Dude."
That's hilarious, Brad. You do that?
Oh, I mean, it's gotten to the point where, but it's these calls all day long. It's like, I can tell you the numbers, and what they're doing now is nobody's using 800 numbers. They're all using this system where if they're calling you on, looks like it's a local phone call, 314-636 area code. You answer the phone, and it's like somebody trying to sell you something, or it's like the credit card scammers I talked about the other day, where it's the guys from China trying to get your credit card number, that kind of stuff, or try to sell you something, which is a scam, and it's funny because sometimes if they stick on if they go through and the third one, I go like, "Hi, if you're wearing women's underwear, press 3," and then you'll hear the guy go, and then they'll go like, "Blank you," and then they'll hang up.
You're just such a fun kind of guy.
I'm sorry.
A wild and crazy.
It doesn't take much to amuse me. 802. He does such a good job in that commercial, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, actually. He rocked the mic like a vandal, baby.
He did. Okay, that's going to do it for Brad and Shelley. She's Brad. I'm Shelley. bsinthemorning.show is our website. Website for the station is westplex1071.com. It's time for Shelley to introduce You Know Who.
So now it's time for Caleb Hunter to come up on the radio. He's the most important man in St. Charles. And he steps up to the microphone and says,